Okay, so I'm just going to run through this survey that has been online. So it was an online survey that we created, and it was shared by the National Steering Group. So it went out to many, many different professionals, and we had a total of about 723 responses, which was really, really useful. So this slide just shows one of the questions was, is coping with crying something you usually discuss with families? And as you can see, it is really, really positive. It's got lots, 90 plus percent for most areas. GP one was a little bit less than that. And obviously that's something that we will work and support our GPs to find how we can help them to be able to discuss that message further. So this one again shows who is normally present. As Sue's already mentioned, and as everybody knows, ICON, 70% of perpetrators are males, but obviously they aren't within health. Men don't always get the same messages as the mothers do. So we really try and aim to hope to reach as many males as possible, as many dads as possible, which is why we've developed the scan cards and lots of other things, and why we have the conversation in post discharge from hospital. So the fact that 54.7% of the message dads were present, and that is absolutely amazing to say that we don't obviously always see our dads, and it's not because they don't want to be there. That's what we're hearing. It's not that dads don't want to be part of the journey. It's more of a cultural change that we're having to do around, not just within ICOM, but all of health. Dads haven't felt it was their place to be there, and that's why we really, really are trying to make that work. And some things that people have said, we try to include all our babies. Even if whoever's present, we'll discuss it with anybody, which is absolutely fantastic to think that, people, professionals are wanting to share the ICON message with as many people as possible, because obviously the more people that receive the message, the better. So this slide shows the role of the people that completed the actual survey. And as you can see, there was lots and lots of different professionals that completed it. As Sue's mentioned, the core contacts, the 5 touch points, are mainly done by the midwife, health visitors and GPs. So some of the data that we are going to show you may be not as clear as we hoped it to be because of how we asked the questions. So we will need to do some follow-up research around specific roles because it's not always clear. But there's lots of different people that have answered it. And the fact that there's all those different people, professionals, family engagement officers, detox and rehab workers, infant feeding, outreach, that all these social workers are having the conversation about ICON with all these different professionals is really fantastic. So as I've mentioned, because we did send, everything has a learning curve, and we did send out it to numerous professionals, and so some of this data may be a bit misleading. So when we first saw this, it said the discharge after birth from the midwives, and only 35% of midwives were sharing that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's one of the most important contacts, because as we've mentioned, it's the time when the male's supposed to be present. But looking further into the data, it wasn't clear whether those midwives were hospital-based midwives, community-based midwives. So they may not be the actual midwife that would be having that conversation. So, and a lot of the comments were that the midwives, they delivered at every postnatal contact, they do it at the NIPID check. Some, like it says, they don't work on the postnatal sections, they may just work in the hospital, but they are delivering it at breastfeeding clinics, discharge to the health visitor, the first postnatal visit, and the discharge from the midwife. So again, we need to be looking a little bit more information, dig a bit deeper and be a bit more targeted with speaking to the midwives and making sure we know their actual role. So this obviously isn't necessarily a true reflection on the midwives. Again, this is the GP, so focusing on the main contact that they would be sharing the ICON message, which is when we hope the GPs do. So majority of GPs discuss ICON at the 6 to 8 weeks. So if they're going to discuss it, that's when they discuss it. So that is very you know, that's very positive that that is the time that they are discussing it. Obviously, again, we've mentioned we need to just do a little bit more work around supporting GPs to deliver the ICON message, but they're not just delivering at that 6 to 8 week check, they're also delivering it at non-routine checks when it arises, opportunistically, when infants are reviewed and when they're seen in surgery. So again, it may look like GPs aren't delivering that message, but they're delivering it at the 6 to 8 week check most frequently, and as well as other times when they are seen in the surgery.
So you've knocked yourself onto mute.
Got fed up of hearing myself. So, sorry about that. As I said, so this contact, a 3 week contact by the health visitors, we know it's always going to be a challenging one because it's not part of the Healthy Child programme. It's the one contact that isn't part of the Healthy Child programme. But it is really positive that it's not just being dismissed, you know, it is being areas now are looking at texting services. Every time I speak with people from different areas, they're moving their technology and how they contact and how they work with families. And so delivering text messages is really good way of doing it. Ad hoc at baby clinics, again, when people come in with babies, they can have those conversations there. A lot of areas now are working the model of like via a duty line. So when they may have like a pathway when people are phoning up that duty line, if the baby's 3 weeks, they will go through the ICON message. But even though they're not necessarily achieving that 3 week contact, we need to work and support health visitors how we can get around that, because it isn't, we don't want anybody to be creating new contacts. But obviously look at different ways we can support health visitors to deliver that. But delivering it at lots of other areas as well, baby massage, anytime they're doing any group work, breastfeeding, telephone calls, any other contacts around with families. So even though they may not always be delivering that at 3 weeks, they are looking at lots of other times that they can deliver it. So, as Sue mentioned, we've just created the coding, the EMIS code, and the SNOMED code for EMIS and System 1. And so that's really useful for everybody. If you don't know it's there, that you can use that. So that is used quite a lot to record, and it's helpful for areas to use that because they can create their own data and find, you know, without having to go through a lot of different processes. The Red Book, again, a lot of areas use the Red Book inserts. That can be an electronic Red Book or paper Red Book. Badgernet, a lot of midwives are just moving over to Badgernet, and there's a lot of information that can be shared via Badgernet about ICON, and I know that areas are using that. So also the paper records as well. So when we talk to parents about ICON, obviously we hope that they remember all the messages. And as Susan mentioned in her survey, her presentation, the O and the N is the one that's remembered the most. Comforting methods are constant conversations the health visitors are having all the time. So that could be part of lots of other messages. And obviously that infant crying is normal. And that is one thing that we really need to reiterate to parents to make them not feel like they're bad parents. And this crying, babies do cry, and it's not that they're doing anything wrong, but to remember that it's okay to walk away and never ever shake or hurt your baby is really important. And we just wanted to look at all the different resources. As we've got lots of resources that you can use, and the leaflet is the main one, which is great that is used all the time. And the website, again, lots of people going to our website, which is really, really helpful. The crying plan is a really useful resource that parents can complete with the health visitors, the midwives, before that time when the crying starts to peak, so that they're prepared. They can then stick it on the fridge. And you know, one of our dad videos talks about how they were struggling with the crying, and then they remembered from the crying plan about ICON because it was there available for them to see it. So that is another resource that, you know, I recommend that if anybody isn't already using that, log on to the website, have a little look at that. You know, you can use it online with parents as well. A lot of areas are using things electronically rather than using paper records now. So all these information is there. We've got our Facebook page. Even I know a lot of young people don't use Facebook now, but even if you just share Facebook page, you know you not very technical with Facebook, but if you share our page, you'll receive all our little different videos and things that we share on there quite frequently across all our um, social media platforms, and then they get to see it as well. As Sue said, our website has just been updated. There's lots of information on there. We're going to have a little run through the toolbar and the reach deck later on in the week to go through how you can use that more successfully. And this is just a few of the comments. There was lots of comments out there, but this is just a few of the comments that I pulled out from, obviously the leaflet is really easy to use. A lot of people are shocked at the data that a baby can cry for up to 5 to 6 hours when they're 6 to 8 weeks old, and are reassured when it is mentioned about it being due to brain development that they aren't doing anything wrong. Which all these um, things are what we want people to feel empowered and feel that they know how to cope with the crying. They're not going to necessarily fix the crying, but they know it's going to happen and how to cope with it. So in summary, as I've mentioned, some of the information isn't reliable because of how we've asked the questions. But so we are going to be looking at doing a follow-up survey and be more role specific to find out the data. And also I need to work further to look at how we can support all professionals to deliver those additional contacts, like the 3-week contact, how we can support GPs, deliver this message within the surgeries. And obviously it is ICON is a programme of minimum of 5 touch points, plus all the other work that you're going to hear this week of all the massive public health wraparound from all the different other areas, schools, probation, social care, everybody that works with families, and just by the sheer number of different roles of people that have completed the survey shows that the public health message is being shared with everybody. And that is just a brief rundown, so I'll stop sharing. Don't know if anybody has any questions about Sue's presentation or my presentation, or any comments, you can put them in the chat box or shout out now.